the nation's premier real estate mastermind. I'm your host, Dylan Silver, and today we have Ginger Faith on the show. Ginger is a 30-year real estate investor, real estate broker, mortgage broker, fix and flipper, and now in the commercial space. Ginger, welcome to the show.
Thanks for having me, Dylan. Good to be here.
Absolutely. Tell us, and I always like to ask, how folks got into real estate. Was it in your blood?
It, I'm a learner and a reader, and so early on, I read Tony Robbins' Unlimited Power, and this was like in '91 or something. And he said you can do anything, just put your mind to it, and all this good NLP stuff. And then I started reading books on real estate, and so this sounds really cool. I like the idea of passive income.
Yeah.
I was I was wrong, but it was a good idea at the time. I like the concept. So yeah, so I started reading Robert Allen books, Nothing Down, and he said, if you buy one piece of property per year, and then pay it off for 10 years, you get 10 properties, and you use
Hmm.
them. Or you use the rent to pay the mortgage off, and then after 10 years, you've got your retirement set for the rest of your life. So that was great in theory. I like the idea, and it's actually a good, it made more sense in the 90s than it does in 2025 because of
Okay.
everything we know. But I decided to get a jump on it and buy a multifamily right away.
Wow.
I said, well, why don't I just jumpstart this instead of waiting 10 years? Why don't I just buy a
Get the
multi?
multifamily.
Yeah, and then I bought another multi, and then another multi. I pulled cash out and bought another multi. So it kind of like became a little Monopoly game because I liked the cash flow. It was fun. That's where so I wasn't in my blood, but money was in my blood, I guess. So I just
Tell us a
yeah.
little bit on a granular level for folks who may be new. What was that first deal like? Like, what was the process? What were the thoughts that you were having? Were you super confident? Were you like a little bit nervous? What you mentioned that you had some books and there was Tony Robbins. Tell us about everything that was going on because I know that for folks who have never done a deal, especially now with all the information, that first deal can seem like an insurmountable task.
I think the blessing was I had no information. So, so with the confidence that usually accompanies ignorance, I forged right through thinking this is going to be easy. So I actually had a realtor that I called from one of those papers, and I said I'd like to buy a rental property, and he says, "Oh, that's a great idea. My friend so and so just bought a triplex, and all he does is collect rents, and he bought a Porsche." And I thought, no, it was a Jaguar. Sorry, it was a Jaguar. It was a Jaguar, and I was like, I can collect rents and buy a Jaguar. I can do that.
Yeah, that's
And
it. Great.
so I said, I could do that. I know I have the skills to do that, right? And so that was literally, what started me on it. And I found this dilapidated six-family Victorian building, absolutely awesome, Widow's Peak, mahogany library. It's just cool. But it was a
Yeah.
six-family, but it was really dilapidated. It was like three colors on the outside. And I started just like, oh, this is cool. Let me play house, and I started dolling it up, just like my natural thing. I
Yeah.
used cream and pink and purple and like a painted lady. It was very organic back in the time. I think having less information was beneficial because you just kind of look at what's in front of you and you just do the next thing and the next thing and the next thing. And as soon as I painted the outside, I had people lining up with literally handing me applications. Like I didn't even
Wow.
have an application. They're like, here, take this. It's me. Here, I want to move in, and don't worry about fixing the place up. Just give me some paint and some spackle, and I'll fix it. And I would just let people go in. Oh yeah, yeah, go ahead, go fix the place up yourself.
And this
Like,
was in San Francisco, this
oh, this is in Boston area.
in Boston. Okay, I lived in Boston for
Boston,
6 years.
Boston. Yeah, yeah, yeah.
Which
So
part of
one of the
Boston was it?
oh, it was I was in Newton,
Newton.
and I
Okay,
had
yeah.
property in Brockton. My first flip was in Brockton, and I had
Hmm.
property in Fall River.
Stop living on an island and join the #1 mastermind in America for professional real estate investors. Investor Fuel is a community of hundreds of the nation's top investors working together to build stronger businesses and better lives. In addition to the amazing community of real estate investors acting as a board of advisors for one another, Investor Fuel members have access to 100% funding on purchase and repairs for our members only, a health insurance program, and benefits and discounts that more than pays for the membership of most of our members, meaning it's actually costing you money to not be a member of Investor Fuel. If you're looking to scale your business and build a business that allows you to live the life of your dreams, please visit investorfuel.com today and book a call with our team.
Okay. I lived in Jamaica Plain,
Okay.
and there was one area, I'll remember it later on in the podcast, but it was outside of Jamaica Plain that I lived in as well. Um, so Boston, wow, lots of stories.
Yeah.
But it sounds like you went in with a lot of conviction and confidence and had your realtor. Was there people in your life who you could point to and say, hey, they're doing something similar? Or was this something just you went out on your own and started doing it?
Nobody, literally nobody. In the process, I met a few people, of course, right? Once you get involved, I started meeting people. And so the guy who sold me my second six family, he was a broker, a realtor broker, and he was an investor. And he and I became great friends. And we're still friends today, even though I live here in California now. When I say great friends, I call him like once a year and we talk for an hour, like,
Yeah.
but we have a good relationship. Last time I went out to Boston, we had lunch, so, but we have this compadre because, we were both working, he went way beyond me. He was even more of a workhorse than I am. And he just kept going. But yeah, no, I didn't have anybody in the beginning. But you meet people on the way, some good, some bad. He was great and helped out with, my learning but there wasn't a lot of information like there is now.
You were really, I'm impressed because, sometimes people will say I had an electrical engineer who got his first property. I want to say it was in Connecticut, and it was a multifamily, and he said that he did like lots of extensive research and bought lots of books before he jumped in. And you almost have an opposite story. You called up a realtor, you read a book, and you were like, let's do this.
Yeah, and the reality was, here's the thing: is I was cheap, and I ran the numbers. Okay, so he was showing me all these big fancy places because he said, "You're a classy lady; you should be in all these fancy places." But I looked at the numbers, and then I was like, "You're getting how much for rent?" And I would just do. I'm like, "How am I going to pay this?" And that was kind of like that. That's where my benefit was. Like all I did was like pencil out the numbers, an old-fashioned calculator and a pen and paper. I'm like, I can't make any money that way. But then when I saw this one, because it was a distress sale, it
Yeah.
was like a no-brainer. But now, of course, that's like, cachet, but back then to me, it was just common sense. I don't want to be footing the bill for this thing. I want somebody else to do it. Right. So, it was more like instinct, self-preservation instinct, which is very valuable in this business. You
Yeah,
always want to have your self-preservation instinct on high all the time in business,
absolutely.
in real estate for sure.
Absolutely, and we'll definitely touch on that more here in a bit. The first deal being distressed, how much work had to be done? Was there major repairs that needed to be done? And how, if not, what were the repairs and how did you do those?
If you're looking for consistent, high-quality leads, look no further than Investor Machine. Investor Machine isn't just another agency, it's the most sophisticated, data-driven lead generation company on the planet for real estate investors, and serves the role of being not just a lead generator for your business, but a marketing partner that is helping you achieve your goals along the way. Go to investormachine.com to learn more and schedule a call with our team today.
Yeah, so it goes back to my being cheap, right? So the first thing I did was paint it, which is cheap.
Yeah,
Paint makes it what it ain't, right?
yeah,
So it looks good. And then it's more like you kind of look at things like, oh, that needs work, or oh, that needs work. And like I said, people came into the property and they liked it and they just did their own work. And that was like great. Who does
yeah.
that? Who does that?
No
Nobody
one
does
does it. Yeah,
did that. It was a cool property. It was a cool location, beautiful property. So it had value. Once it looked nice on the outside, fix the boarded windows, stuff like that. So
It was a multifamily? Was
it
it
was six family. Yeah, it was a six family Victorian.
okay, and you said that you had people like quite literally like handing you applications. Like you didn't even have to
Telling
put
me
it
that they
in.
would fix it themselves. They would fix the place themselves. Yeah. So it was crazy. It's just so I just handed them materials, and they just fixed it themselves. Now I didn't have any concept of QC or safety or insurance. They're like, yeah, go fix it up. Okay, go. Give me my rent. That's all. I just want my Jaguar. That's
Yeah, that's
it.
it. I can buy the rental property and drive the Jaguar. I'm capable of that. Were you in Boston yourself at the time? I imagine in that area, right?
Yeah, I was there. Yeah, I was living
Okay.
there. I didn't move here to California until 2001.
Okay, okay. So as an aside, you've done the coasts. You've done the coasts.
Mhm. Yeah.
I'm imagining you like California better because you're there now.
I love, just the weather.
The
Just the
weather
weather.
is nice. The
Just
weather,
the weather. Yeah,
yeah,
California is not isn't as it's not exactly as the Beach Boys depict it.
yeah, yeah.
You know.
I lived in Boston for 6 years. The Charles River, which is their river, froze. It was so cold. I still can't believe this happened, but for people who are in Boston, they'll know this is true. Boylston Street, which is like kind of their Fifth Avenue, if you will, would get so cold with so much wind, people would walk backwards down the street, like to avoid wind chill in their
Right. I
face.
did that because you can
Yeah,
put your hood up and then you don't have to worry about like yeah, freezing your face off. Yeah.
I remember there was one time in particular that I saw a whole street of people, and I'm new to the area. I'm from New Jersey. I'm like, I'm not gonna wear a scarf. I'm not gonna wear earmuffs. I'm 18 years old. I'm thinking I'll be fine. You're freezing. You'll get burns. So you're
Yes.
walking backwards. So that's a funny little
You have little
aside.
icicles on your eyelashes. Yeah.
Yeah, I can't do it. I can't do it. I said someone said you need a balaclava, and I said I don't really like Greek food. And they're like, no, the scarf. And I thought they were talking about like baklava. And they were like, no, the it's like on your face. I was like,
Funny.
oh, okay, okay.
That's
Um,
funny.
but fast forward a little bit. You're a real estate broker and a mortgage broker, but also an investor yourself. And it sounds like you were an investor before you were a real estate broker and a mortgage broker. So how did that happen? How did that pan out?
It's really simple. Again, I'm an opportunist and I just kind of like I go by feel as you can see, hear by my stories. So I came to California and I looked at the numbers and I'm like, well, this doesn't make any sense. I'm not going to make any, my little pencil, it doesn't work. This doesn't pencil. So where can I make money if I want to live in California and have the warm weather? Well, mortgage brokering in 2001 was hot, hot, hot. The rates were dropping, 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 dropping. I got a mortgage broker license in '01. When I was told that you couldn't, people didn't know that there was a special license that you could get a CFL, and I got that right away. Took some classes. Then in 2005, I got my real estate broker license only to
Hmm.
help clients because I could get better deals having both licenses. I could get better mortgage rates for my clients.
Yeah.
But then in '08, everything changed. And then in a couple of years, I realized that, oh, wow, these numbers look different. So now
Yeah.
they do cash flow for, then it was tight for a while with the rents because the rents were really low too. They got hit hard in the crash as well. So I didn't buy enough real estate, but I did buy some. And that's when I started flipping properties in earnest because now the numbers made sense.
That's something that I hear over and over and over again. So when I start getting deeds in my name, I got to take note of this. People will say, either I didn't buy enough properties or I regret not holding on to, 10% of the flips that I did or, I
Mhm.
sold too quickly. And I've heard this like so many times. It's now etched into my brain. I'm like, okay, I
If
know it
it ever
seems
happens
tempting.
again, if it
Yeah.
ever happens again, which is not looking likely, we know what to do this time. But then, does history repeat itself? I suppose it does, but we'll wait for that.
So, we mentioned a little bit, but you have so much experience. Did the flips? Did the mortgage broker, real estate broker, Airbnb? Do you have a favorite? Can you have a favorite? Are you agnostic to area?
If you're a new or newer real estate investor looking to launch or grow your real estate investing business, please check out Investor Fuel Club. It's a coaching community, but unlike anything you've ever seen before. And you can actually partner with members of our mastermind from coast to coast on deals right in your market. There's no better opportunity to build a consistent business than to literally partner with pros to help you avoid costly mistakes, avoid the need for capital to do deals, and help you eliminate your fears as you're starting your business. Learn more about Investor Fuel Club at investorfuel.com/club.
I have two favorites. I love, I love helping people sell and buy homes. I love that because it's personal. I'm kind of a golden retriever in nature.
That's
I like
helpful
to,
in this industry, yeah.
yeah, yeah, I like to help. So that's fun. And then I love decorating. So Airbnbs are fun for me from that standpoint. But I joke with I have a couple, investor friends, and I said, I just like to decorate and collect the money. so,
That's the
so
fun part, yeah.
it goes back to my original intention for the Jaguar, which I never got, by the way. I just like to collect the money. So when it comes to the investing, honestly, I like decorating and I like collecting money. Those are my skill sets. And I like helping people. So that's why I like hospitality from that standpoint, making people feel, what makes me really happy is when I have the books, the guest books, and people write in it, like they had their wedding,
Yeah.
by and all that cool stuff. And like, oh my God, this is amazing. And, I name my Airbnbs. They have names, and they have, one of them each bedroom has a name, the boho skyloft, the garden room. So, I have fun with it. I like to elevate people's experiences and elevate people's lives. And that's
Yeah.
where the decorating and then the making things fun. And I do the same thing in my real estate brokerage. In addition to having competence in helping to place people in homes or get their homes sold, that extra touch, those extra touches are things that make me kind of juice me a little bit.
I have two Airbnb questions. So the first is, do all of the Airbnbs or maybe individually have themes?
Yeah, I have the Cowboy Farmhouse. I have the Heart of Heaven Homestead. I have the Magic Manor. I have the Temple, the Wine Country Retreat, and the Secret Downtown Garden Cottage.
Oh, wow. So when you're going to purchase a new Airbnb, would you have a totally new theme? Are there going to be maybe some aspects of one like kitchen that you're pretty much going to apply across the board, or is it everyone different?
Everyone's different. I mean, some people can do like cookie cutter,
Yeah.
anything, right? You think anything. There's some people who say, I have 1,000 doors of Airbnb. Basically, they have a hotel, and they're like, we
Yeah.
only we only get people, our cleaning people, we only pay them $20 an hour, and they consider that a model, but that's not a model for a house. You can't give your people $20 an hour when they're cleaning. It's just different. But if you have a hotel, you could give someone like a salary. Then you have a full-time cleaning crew. It's different.
Yeah.
In that case, yeah, it's going to be more cookie cutter. A hotel will be, as a rule, more cookie cutter than Airbnbs, right? So I really love that. I think it adds it's a draw. It's a draw for people. He's like, oh, what's the secret garden? What's the what's the cowboy farmhouse, right? What's the magic manor? And again, it just elevates people's feeling. It's all about feeling when it comes to hospitality,
It
right?
really is.
Yeah, yeah, you want to elevate. So my job is to elevate, and I love it. That's fun.
I love Airbnb. When I get some deeds in my name, I want to do Airbnb. My mentor in Dallas, which is where I'm in Denton, which is North DFW Metroplex, he does Airbnb. But the other question that I had was I was speaking with a guest earlier this week, gentleman, his name's JD Alexander, in Miami, and he specifically does like communications management and booking management for Airbnbs. And his model is if you're on Airbnb, he'll list you on the other sites as well, Verbo and the other ones, and he'll do all the communication. So that not only is it paying for itself, you're increasing your margins, Do you do all the communication yourself with the guest, or how do you manage it?
Yeah, Airbnb has a phenomenal platform for communication. And so what I do is I create, one of my mentors years ago said, if you ever have a problem, create a system to solve the problem. And Airbnb, I think, is absolutely the number one platform. I've done VRBO, I've done Booking.com, and I've taken them off for various very, very valid reasons. And but Airbnb continues to impress me as a platform. I absolutely love it. I'm very loyal to Airbnb. And one of the things that I love about them is you can create a whole series of communications with the clients, starting from the booking. So
Mm.
the booking, and you set it up, and it can be tailored to that particular property. Welcome to the Magic Manor. And then what do they need to know? What I've noticed is critical is you have to have people need to have complete transparency. If there's something negative, if you say it up front, they have a choice to move forward or back down. And then you don't get a bad review. Everybody's happy. If
Yeah.
you do not disclose something, either because you forgot or something happened during or whatever, that's where you get the bad reviews oftentimes. So I'll give you a funny example. Airbnb's got the system where one of my properties is on an acre, but it's off of a massive boulevard, massive boulevard. The fairgrounds is across the street. But once you hit my street, you have potholes galore going up, 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 up to the property, up and around, and then it drops down to an acre of privacy. But the neighbors, there's only a few neighbors. They want nothing to do fixing those potholes. So, right, my contractor's like, we got to fix these potholes. And I'm like, no, because then people are going to be racing up the street and there's children.
Yeah.
And so, but my Airbnb guests, what do I do? Well, I drive up and I give them a video and I insert that into the Airbnb communication. So I'm driving
Mm.
the street here and you're going to find potholes. And we love our potholes because that means that you're not going to get any driving racers, right? So you reframe everything appropriately, right? But you disclose. And so they're like, when they're driving up, nobody complains anymore. I got one complaint in the beginning about the potholes.
Yeah.
After nothing. So every single thing, can you change it or can you frame it? Can you disclose it? Like how, so but so there you go. I hope that answers your question.
No, yeah, absolutely. I that talk about framing and salesmanship and fair communication, like that's the name. Disclose, disclose, disclose. And
Yeah,
the potholes actually, protecting the neighborhood. So that's
right,
awesome.
right.
Um,
So,
Before we hopped on here, I mentioned to you, one of the things I'm personally passionate about is just the power of fanatical networking, I call it, or being a networking junkie, guerrilla networking. And that's how I'm sitting in this chair, was through a cold call that I had made for a property that I had under an assignable contract when I was living in San Antonio. Property was in Azle, Texas, and I called who's now my mentor. He wasn't interested in the property, didn't like my photos, told me I didn't know what I was doing, but we somehow became friends. And then he referred me to Mike Hambright, who's the owner of our podcast. And now I'm sitting here uh, in my mentor's office in a ranch home in Denton. So um, for me, fanatical networking, as I call it, is just about doing everything that you can to put yourself in the room with people who are doing what you want to do or the information that you need. And you might not need it right then, but you might need it in the future. And from your career, it's obvious that you're a natural networker. Is that a skill that you've honed over time, or has it just been second nature to you?
yeah, it goes back to I love people. I really do love people. So definitely there are skills. I don't think we're all natural charmers.
Yeah.
Hence, Dale Carnegie's How to Win Friends and Influence People.
Yeah.
I read that in my 20s and I realized, oh my goodness, I'm doing a lot of things wrong here. And so I start changing things and then change things again. And so what I am a natural is a learner. And I'm humble enough to try to make changes if I see I'm going in the wrong direction. which, I do. I was on a long drive to Los Angeles last week, and in my meditation, I was really, Ginger, you need to change a few things about this and that. I'm like, oh yeah, like it came up as a meditation. Like I'm still like, oh, tweaking things. So in my personality, so. No, I don't. I think I love people, but I don't think I'm a little bit more of a pleaser, and I've had to learn my way out of that because
Yeah.
it's not the place to be when it comes now customer service. That's where you can be a pleaser.
Right.
When you're coming to investing, you don't want to be a pleaser. You need to be a negotiator. You need to be more emotionally level, more like straight playing field. It's a whole different conversation, and so I would say that my skill sets were developed more being a negotiator over time. And there's still so much to learn, but and there are people better than me, of course. But yeah, so there you go. Just a natural learner.
The thing that clicked for me, talking about like skill sets that develop, I was not a networker, but what I realized was that there are people charging for their time just to get in the room with them. And I was like, people can charge for their time and like people will pay that. And so then I realized like talking about the negotiations thing, I came from a car sales background. So we would do lots of car deals. It never occurred to me that that was like a transferable skill, and a lot of it is. In fact, the
Yeah.
book that was most beneficial for me was this book by, I don't know if you've heard of it, Chris Voss, Never Split the Difference.
Oh, yeah, 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 yeah.
And
He's
it's
great.
like a hostage negotiation
Yeah,
background.
yeah.
It's
He's
like,
amazing. That guy's. I saw a video. It's so funny. I had the book because one of my mentors recommended it. It was on my coffee table, and I'm watching YouTube and I'm listening to this guy and I'm like, he's really smart. Wow, this is really cool. And then it was like, oh, what? Chris Voss. Wait, wait. I have his book. It was like,
yeah, that's right. That's how it happened for me too.
so,
My buddy, I was asking him, he was a manager at a Nissan dealer that I was working at, and I kept asking him, like, what do I got to do to get more deals? And people would just say the same typical things, but he said, check out this guy, Chris Voss. And then I saw him. He was already, because the algorithm unites us, he was already like in my feed. So I was like, oh,
yeah,
that's that guy that I've been seeing. I just
yeah.
bought the book. I bought the book. I bought the hard copy. And one of the things just about the book, this is real granular, but they talk about like radio FM DJ voice. So then I
Right,
like
right, right,
would
right,
start
right.
doing that, and I was like, I can't believe this is actually a thing. But like, yeah, you're calm, they're calm, no one's freaking out.
And that's a book you could should probably read once a year.
Yeah, for sure.
So that's a good one. I'm gonna go grab that off my shelf again.
Yeah,
Yeah,
me
that's a
too.
yeah.
Um, Pivoting here, you're now in the commercial space, which God willing, I'll be a realtor here in April, provided that everything goes well on my exam at the end of the month. But everybody that seems like is getting into real estate wants to be an investor, wants to be in the commercial space. So, how did you get into the commercial space?
Um, Networking. How's
There it
that?
is. Yeah.
There you go. Networking. Now I'll make a sidebar. I mean, I bought a piece of commercial property years ago, but it didn't work out. I was a limited partner, and the gentleman passed away, and
Mm.
it was during the crash, and so I lost my 100 grand.
Mm.
It, and that was it. I never got involved again. But there's a group, Scott Shield. I go visit the Commercial Academy. I met him in 2010, but I was too busy flipping residential, so I didn't do anything about it. And then my girlfriend, who was a top-notch car salesman, decided to get into real estate, and she's very strategic. And she joined, and within a couple of years, she found a 56-unit apartment complex that needed a ton of work. And within like 2 years of starting the project, like I think it was a total of about 4 years tops between looking and then turning it over. She cashed out with multiple seven figures,
Unbelievable.
and she had no experience, and she was coming to me for advice as the deal was going on. And I'm helping her and I'm helping her and I'm helping her. And then, then she cashes out. She moves out of California. She buys 10 acres on the East Coast. And now she's like living her dream life
Wow.
as a private money investor. Now she really knows what passive income is. and she's doing well. So when she left, I was like, hey, wait a minute. You know, it's like I know way more about real estate than she does. And
For folks who have friends who are getting into real estate, you really never know what's going to happen. Look at that. The friend ended up doing a deal which totally changed her life. What, were you one of her mentors getting in? It sounds like it. It sounds like you were
I
showing
was
her the ropes.
absolutely,
Yeah.
absolutely I was. You know, but she was sharp. She could figure stuff out herself. But I was there, and you know, when she was going over through crazy stress because it was a big project,
Yeah.
come over for dinner, and she'd be, you know, talking, unpacking what was going on, and I give her some thoughts and advice and steer her in the right direction. I end up connecting her with a phenomenal attorney that really saved the day when she got involved with a unsavory partner in that. So
Yeah.
I was very instrumental. And then, you know, she took care of me too, because she said, you know, you might want to think about getting back involved with the academy. And I did. And I was pretty blown away. You know,
Mm.
I was overwhelmed and like, oh my God, this is I've been in residential all this time. But these people are taking on, you know, really big money.
Huge deals.
Huge deals. They're taking down about $1 billion a quarter in commercial real estate. And I'm
Yeah.
like, what? You know? And so I realized like, wow, I've really been thinking too small. I've done well, but in comparison to some of these people, it just, wow, I need to start thinking bigger. And that was about a year and a half ago.
I
And I
tend to
had,
think I tend to think that folks when you're talking about stressful things, it's like it's all stressful. So if it's going to be stressful one way or the other, you might as well do the thing that's going to be the biggest thing you could do. And that's kind of the appeal there. It's like, yeah, your friend she had to deal with a lot of things, but now she's, holding notes and lending money in the East
yeah,
Coast.
right, right, right. Yeah, yeah. You just have to make sure you can support financially. If you could financially support whatever you get into until you turn it, everything else you can figure out. You're not going to go under, but people will go under if they can't financially support it. If they bite off more than they can chew, you know, then they're in trouble. There's an opportunity zone fund. I just went so two things. I just with my friends, I just bought a 30,000 square foot mixed use property in Sacramento proper, overlooking the Capitol. It was a
Wow.
former Regis Hotel. And we got together and they spearheaded it. I became a limited partner with it. So I'm one of the owners. So that's really cool.
Yeah.
So then, and then in the process, after that, I started connecting with some brokers in the area, and I had a tour of Sacramento with one of the, like literally the kingpin broker, commercial in downtown. He leases everything, sells and leases everything. Very successful guy. So he took me on a 2-hour tour of some properties in Sacramento, Midtown and Sacramento proper. And one of the things I found interesting was there was this really big opportunity zone company. Okay, they bought 2 magnificent properties in 2019. One of them, I think, is really interesting because it's completely vacant. It's 40,000 square feet. It's absolutely stunning. It's office space and then a rooftop bar, completely empty.
Wow.
And they bought it for like 5.5 million, and they put in about $13 million in
Hmm.
renovating it. And now they can't lease it out to what the bank is now recasting their loan.
Hmm.
Now that they're into it for what is it, 13 and 6, like almost 20 million,
Right.
including carrying costs, et cetera, right? And they're selling it for like 8.5 million.
Wow. So this was really a conglomeration of things rolling downhill quickly. It sounds like the bank put some restrictions on them. They overspent in rehab, which can happen, and then the market where it's at. So
Mhm.
they're taking their
COVID,
losses.
office, yeah. Yeah. So that's the dark side of thinking big.
Yeah. You can win a lot and you can lose
Grew
a
up with
lot
a
a
two
lot.
hundred thousand dollar house, you may be into it for 100 grand, right? So, but this is a whole nother conversation, and I think that's why people don't get into commercial real estate because it is a dangerous game if you don't buy right and if you
So
don't have
yeah,
enough financial backing.
the
So it's
leverage that's
something
there.
to be very, very, respected. It's a game that needs to be respected, and yet there's tremendous upside. So.
Ginger, we're coming up on time here, but with all your experience and the many areas of real estate that you've been an operator in, from talking with you, it's clear that building these relationships, these strategic relationships, people that you trust, and through mentorship and different opportunities, and through a constant thirst for knowledge, you've been able to do everything that I could think of one could do in the real estate space, or part of almost everything. Um, would you say that relationship building is really the key to everything here?
Uh, no, I think it's a piece of the pie. You need to analyze deals. Depends on what you. It depends on the area, right?
Okay.
The cool thing about real estate, and what I like to tell people is that, if you find out what your natural genius is, and then you focus on your natural genius, it can actually take you very far, as long as you plug in the holes with competent, trustworthy, high integrity people, whether that be a VA, whether that be a partner, right? Because if your natural genius is people, and you can find somebody who, like, they're just a numbers cruncher. They're very comfortable crunching numbers, and they don't really want to be out there. And then you got rocket fuel, provided you trust each other.
Hmm.
So I've got friends, like couples. The wife's the number cruncher and the executor, and the husband's the go-getter networker kind of thing, or vice versa,
And you were
right?
doing both.
I'm doing both because I don't have a partner at this time. But I have a lot of partners, but not a part. I say, not a single partner. So I end up hiring things out
Yeah.
that I am not as good in. But at the same time, when it comes to the numbers, the buck stops here, 100%. You've got to be, Warren Buffett says everybody should have some accounting. You take some accounting classes, because if you want to make money, you got to be comfortable with numbers. And if you're not comfortable with numbers, you have two choices. You can get comfortable with numbers, you can learn, or you can not have money. So,
Yeah.
that's really
That I
right.
completely agree. My mentor and I have a phrase, we call it asset management, which is like everything is coming down to asset management, like your daily decisions. He was a uh, he worked for Edward Jones before he got into the real estate space. So that was, what he was doing, and it's spilled over to me because now I'm looking at everything I'm doing on a very on a low level, on a humble level, and thinking like, okay, is this the best use of my time, my money? And on a big level, evaluating deals is the same thing. So, to your point, Ginger, it's not just connecting and being able to do that and selling. It's also deal analysis.
Hmm. For sure, for sure. Yeah.
Well,
Yeah,
folks,
I've seen the most charming people go bust. So,
that way, yeah, it can be a dangerous game. We're coming up on time here. Ginger, how can folks get a hold of you?
just Ginger Crystal Faith, real estate broker. I'm on LinkedIn. I've got a YouTube channel, Facebook, Ginger Crystal Faith Real Estate. It's pretty easy. I'm the only Ginger Crystal Faith, I think, that's in real estate.
I
So,
think so. I think so. I've only
yeah.
I've only ever heard of one of you. Well, folks, that wraps up the show here today. Hope you got some great value, and know that analyzing these deals, being able to connect with a lot of people, can help you start from just being someone on the outside to being on the inside, to flipping 52 properties, to being a real estate broker, mortgage broker, and more. So until next time, this is Dylan Silver with the Real Estate Pros podcast, and thanks for listening.